March is the month dedicated to fraud prevention to raise awareness about the growing threat of financial crimes. Our Randy Cormish got the opportunity to speak with a corporal from the Alberta RCMP Financial Crime Team to learn more about the importance of Fraud Prevention Month.
Today, I'm joined by Sean Milne, who is a corporal with the Alberta RCMP Provincial Financial Crime Team. And today, we're going to be talking about Fraud Prevention Month. So, thank you so much for joining me today, Sean. Could you start off by telling me a bit about Fraud Prevention Month and why it is so important?
Prevention Month is an annual event in Alberta. It's managed by the Alberta Community Crime Prevention Association. The goal is to educate the public on how to identify scams and prevent themselves from falling victims to it, because it is a multi-million-dollar issue that grows every year, and we want to prevent people from falling prey to that.
Yeah, perfect. And then, what are the most common ways of fraud seen in Canada?
So there's some ways to measure it in terms of dollar value. The top dollar loss is once again this year, unfortunately, investment scams. So people are lured into false investment opportunities, often involving cryptocurrency, and when they invest their life savings into this, it amounts to a lot of money quite quickly, unfortunately. In terms of actual number of reports, things like identity fraud are always a high one. Credit card fraud, phishing scams. Those ones, the dollar losses tend to be smaller, but they're more widespread and more people are targeted by them. So there's different types to watch out for and different nuances to each of them.
Okay, perfect. And then, what are some of the main goals of Fraud Prevention Month?
Fraud Prevention Month, the goals are to give people the tools to identify them and some easy to remember rules of thumb to help to try to keep in mind anytime they're encountering a situation that might be fraud. So two we often push are scammers rely on urgency and secrecy. So scammers want to present a situation where you're going to think before you act. This is often the case with grandparent scams, where they create the urgency that, oh, your loved one is in trouble, you need to send money right away, or something bad is going to happen. And so they're pushed to just do that, not think about it, not talk to anyone, and just send money. Secrecy is also the key. We see that in romance scams, where the scammer will ask their victim not to tell anybody about it until they're officially a couple or something like that, because they don't want the victim to actually talk to other people about that situation and have the inconsistencies or the lies pointed out to them that might undermine the fraud. They want the victim only speaking to the scammer, so their only source of information is from them. So we always say, if you're being pushed to act quickly, or if you're being told to keep something secret, you got to stop and rethink that, because those are two hallmarks of fraud.
Okay, perfect. And that leads into my next question. What should someone do if they feel they're a victim to fraud?
If someone feels they're a victim to fraud, or even if they might potentially be encountering a fraud situation, we always encourage them to contact police. You can contact us to even discuss it, and we can give some insight as to whether that situation might be fraud and prevent you from falling victim to it, or if it's something that you already run into and perhaps become a victim of, we can't investigate it if no one reports. So we need that information from the public to tackle fraud on all the angles we can.
Okay, perfect. And then is there a way that the community can contribute in a way to Fraud Prevention Month?
The best way that someone can contribute to Fraud Prevention Month is talk about it to other people. A lot of the people who come to police fraud prevention presentations are there because they're already alert to fraud. They're often not our target audience. It's the people who don't come to the events and don't read the web pages that we need to reach. So if you have information about fraud, share it around. And if someone around you is acting strange, like they're keeping secrets, or do you think maybe they have an online relationship that they're not willing to talk about, ask about that kind of thing. Because like I say, the scammers don't want those people talking to people around them. So talk to people around you and find out if they might be a victim, loved ones, people who might be vulnerable, parents, grandparents, things like that. The more of kind of a the more of a community defense we present, the better off we all
Okay, perfect. And then, yeah, is there just anything else you wanted to add just for people to be aware of?
Like I say, fraud is fraud is sophisticated. A lot of people think fraudsters are the lone wolf operating in their basement. That's not the case. Fraud is an industry, and so they bring a lot of resources to bear against people to try to trick them. So be alive to that. They're going to have very polished, slick approaches, and so be very cautious.
Perfect. Yeah, that was all the questions I had for you today, Sean. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this, and thank you so much for enlightening me on the importance of Fraud Prevention Month.
Oh, you're very welcome.
It's a message that can't be repeated enough. Impaired driving can have devastating consequences. This week marks Impaired Driving Prevention Week, and I got a chance to get a closer look at the risk and consequences of impaired driving with the Saskatchewan Government Insurance. This week, from March 16th to the 22nd, is National Impaired Driving Prevention Week, and today I'm joined by Michaela Solomon to talk about the importance of safe driving. Thank you so much for joining me today, Michaela.
Problem.
Wonderful. And so, would you be able to share how the SGI support National Impaired Driving Prevention Week and what initiatives are in place to promote safe driving practices?
So SGI promotes safe driving practices around impaired driving all year round. We're happy to support the national observation, I guess, of National Impaired Driving Prevention Week. We take steps to prevent impaired driving all year round, but to name a few, we do things like our monthly traffic safety spotlight, the focus of which is impaired driving on several months throughout the year, including March is the focus on impaired driving. So we're in the media talking about that, talking about it on our social media. We talk about it when it's at its peak, so times like summertime and the holidays, when there's more potential for people to be driving impaired. That's typically where you'll find us too. So making sure people know the options that are available to them is so important to us. So if you're out and about, a night of impairing substances with friends, whatever they may be, make sure you designate a sober driver, get a friend or family member to come pick you up, call a taxi or rideshare service, or spend the night with a friend if you're able, because there are many, many options to avoid impaired driving, and we want to make sure people know about them.
Absolutely. And so, what's the most common causes of impaired driving in Saskatchewan, and how can drivers avoid this risk?
Absolutely. So the best way to avoid the risk is to just not do it. But I think planning ahead is a big part of that. If you know you're going to be out on Saturday night downtown or out with friends at a party, just take some time before you head out to figure out how you're all going to get home. Do we want to designate a sober driver? Do we plan to call an Uber? Can I stay at your place tonight? Just really taking that time ahead of the event, before those impairing substances start to flow, to make a plan and know how you're going to get home. That does make it a lot easier when the time comes.
Absolutely. And so, with that, what are the consequences of impaired driving in Saskatchewan, including fines, like license suspensions, and other penalties?
Absolutely. Yeah. So some of them are license suspensions and vehicle impoundments. It really depends on the substance, depends if you've had any impaired driving offenses on your record prior. So there are a lot of variables in the penalty you might face. But yeah, license suspensions, vehicle impoundments, heavy fines. There's potential for jail time, driving without impairment course that you might have to take, driving with ignition interlock. So that's the blow box on someone's keys after they've had a certain number of offenses. It can really have a big impact on your social life and on your personal and professional life. So just remembering all those different ways to make sure we don't get into that situation is what we're trying to reinforce.
Absolutely. And so, what educational resources are available to the people to learn more about the dangers of impaired driving and how to prevent it, how to plan ahead, and such?
Absolutely. So engaging in our social media, I think, is a great tool. We talk about impaired driving a lot on our social media, not specifically impaired driving, I would say impaired driving prevention. So check us out on social media, engage with your local MAD and SAD chapter if you have that in your community. And yeah, just make sure, talk to the people around you. I think that's a really important thing. If you're a parent, talk to your children about impaired driving safety and making sure that they're safe around impairing substances. When, I think we know that kids in high school aren't of age to legally drink, but I think we know that that doesn't always prevent it from happening. So talk to your children, talk to your peers, talk to your classmates, talk to your parents and your loved ones, and make sure they know that you're there for them in making sure that they get home safe, and ask them if they'll be there for you too. Will you, Mom, will you come pick me up late at night if I need to? I'll call my mom, I'll call my dad, I'll call a friend. Just, yeah, talk to your community.
Absolutely. And so, is there anything else you wanted to add on that we might have not already covered as well?
I think we talk a lot about alcohol and cannabis as impairing substances. Something we've talked about a little bit, but not quite as much, is medication. Some over-the-counter medication, some prescription medication may have impairing effects. So talk to your doctor, talk to your pharmacist if any of your medication could impair you when you're behind the wheel, because it's important to know if you're on a medication that does impact your ability to drive.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for doing the interview with me today, Michaela.
Anytime, it was nice to meet you, and yeah, I hope I gave you what you needed.
That's all for news. Sports is next, but first, here's a look at your closing market.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
The AFSC handed out the 2025 AFSC Women in Ag Awards to women across Alberta, and one of the award winners is from the Midwest region. Our Thomas Wildman talked to her about winning such a prestigious award.
Today I'm joined by Amanda Elzinga Pugh, one of 8 winners of the 2025 AFSC Women in Ag Award, and she is here to talk a little bit about winning that award. And so I'll start, Amanda, tell me a little bit about your initial reaction to receiving such a prestigious award.
I actually got a call from AFSC about it, and to be honest, I thought they were maybe calling about our calf insurance or something like that, so I was a little bit surprised when they phoned. I remember just kind of asking if it was okay to find out who nominated me, and I was very fortunate to get nominated by a customer of mine. I work for Merck Animal Health, and I'm fortunate to work with a feedlot that is partly run and operated by a woman that I really, really admire, and the fact that she took the time to nominate me meant a lot to me personally and was a really nice surprise. I think it is really cool that AFSC puts on these awards and this recognition. They did a really good job of organizing it and just a really good job of putting it all together, and I certainly appreciate it. I think there's some really cool and incredible women that work inside this industry, and I'm pretty humbled to even be on that list with a lot of people that I do really admire. So that was really cool, and I just would like to give a little shout out to AFSC for doing it.
And Amanda, what are the roles that you are currently in the agriculture industry that allowed you to receive such a prestigious award?
I guess I kind of wear 2 hats. I do ranch with my husband, Greg, so we have a Angus operation in Edgerton, and so I get to be involved in that side of it as a primary producer, but I also work for Merck Animal Health, which is a large pharmaceutical company, as a cattle and equine rep for northeastern Alberta. So I get to work with just a lot of veterinarians, primary producers on basically our animal health products, kind of how to use them. Hopefully get to kind of help bridge some gaps in the industry as far as information that is maybe relevant for some primary producers. So that's what I do in my day job, and then I get to kind of put on my producer hat on the evenings and weekends.
And finally, Amanda, what are you going to do to continue to be a leader for women in agriculture over these next coming few months and years?
I have been fortunate with Merck. A colleague and I have a program called She Grows Beef, which is hopefully been helpful to a lot of women in just getting some information and some tools and some skills that maybe are necessary for women in ag. And I think it's been a really cool atmosphere to help bring some of them together as well. So that's something I hope to continue doing, to have a bit of an impact on women in the beef industry. And I guess beyond that, I hope to really be able to encourage some younger people, especially younger women, to find their spot in ag, and to encourage them to have a career in the agriculture industry if that's what they'd like to do.
Thank you so much for all the information today, Amanda, and congratulations again on winning such a prestigious award.
Alexandra Kay is a country artist who has been making waves lately. Arlene Hoffert had the opportunity to sit down with a rising star.
I'm joined here today with Alexandra Kay, who's a country music singer bringing her tour to both Edmonton and Saskatoon. So Alexandra, why don't you just tell me how the tour's been going so far?
Oh, I'm in kind of like a much lovelier era than I was definitely in my album All I've Ever Known, which I actually didn't even get to come to Canada on that album cycle. And so I'm definitely going to be playing a lot of songs from All I've Ever Known. I'm going to be playing just a few songs from my new record, and then it's very fun, very upbeat. I do a couple of covers. It's very girly and pink and just high energy. So I think everyone's gonna have a great time.
So you recently released a single and you're putting out a full-length album. Can you just tell me a bit about the process of bringing that to life?
Well, this new album is very different from my last because I went through a divorce after 11 years. And that's kind of what fueled my creative process for my last record. And I'm in a much happier place now. And so writing from just pure joy and confidence and happiness, which is something that I haven't gotten to do in a long time. And so it's been a really amazing experience. And I'm working with a new producer who's absolutely nailing it. And it's just new songwriters and new heads getting put together to make this kind of new Alexandra Kay sound. So I'm really excited for everybody to hear it.
You've had the opportunity to hit the road with Jelly Roll, as well as be on a song with him for the Twister soundtrack. What's it like working with him?
Oh, it's been amazing. Jelly is just as cool, just as sweet and down to earth as you've ever heard him be. He's like a big brother to me and has really wrapped his arms around me in this industry and lifted me up in ways that I could have never imagined. And so I'm just super grateful for him and for him to be such a role model and such a mentor for me over the last few years. He's incredible.
So country music is known to be a down-to-earth genre. How do you keep that essence in your music as your popularity continues to rise?
It's just all about gratitude and just realizing that, a very small percentage of people get to where we've gotten in this career path. And it's not easy to do, and we've had to sacrifice a lot. And so it's just being grateful first and foremost for all of the opportunities, because there's somebody else who would kill to be in your position at any moment, whether you're feeling tired or run down. There's a version of you that would have done anything to be where you are now. And so I'm just super grateful for the fans and for everything that they've given me, because I'm just now recently a signed artist with BBR, but I was an independent artist for most of my successes thus far, and I would have none of it without the fans.
And so you mentioned your start as an independent artist. Why don't you just tell me a little bit about your journey from independent to being a signed artist?
Well, I've been signed twice. I've had 2 record deals. This is my third, and I've definitely, third time's definitely the charm here. I've found my hopefully forever home with BBR BMG, and they're such an incredible team. But I don't know that I would have ever even been on the radar of BBR, BMG, or Jelly Roll for that matter, had it not been for the years of work I put in as an independent artist, and all of the virality I had on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok leading up to this. And just honestly, the miles I put in touring. We've been touring for years and years and years and years. And prior to that, I would play in all of the dive bars 4 hours a night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's how I paid my bills. And so I really have done, put in the 10,000 hours, and am really, really grateful to be here. And all of the fans just are super happy to have been a part of getting me here, I guess.
What advice do you have for anyone that's maybe up and coming in the music industry and looking to find some footing?
Just do it. Like, I honestly, you just have to put yourself out there, and don't ever take no for an answer. And one person's opinion means nothing. And just believe in yourself, because there's going to be a lot of times in your life when there's always going to be somebody who doesn't believe in you. And so as long as you are the only opinion that matters when it comes to belief in you being able to accomplish something, then you always have the right person on your side, which is you. So yeah, I've been told no way more times than I've been told yes, that's for sure. And if I would have taken the first no for an answer, I would have quit 12 years ago. So yeah, just get out there and do it and trust yourself.
All right, and my last question for you today is where can people go to get tickets to your shows?
You guys can find me on all social media at Alexandra K Music or Alexandra K Music or alexandraKofficial.com/tour to get tour tickets.
Those are all the questions I have for you today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Lane. Thank you for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
And now let's take a look at your pets of the day.
Send photos of your pet and their name to have them featured on Pet of the Day.
Thank you for watching Primetime Local News. I am Astarta Lazo and have a great rest of your day.